welcome. I want to welcome everyone to the Uprooting Rejection workshop where we've been going over ways to uproot the rejection that we feel caused by the abandonment that has taken place in our lives. We've been going over this over the past 6 weeks, and this week we're on part 6. Tonight, we're going to be talking about words kill or give life. Words kill or give life. How many of you know that words can kill or they can give life? In the book of Proverbs, chapter 18, verse 21 in the Message Bible, it says, words kill, words give life. They either poison or are fruit. You choose. So words can be poison or they can be fruit. In the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 30, verse 18, it says this day I call the heavens and the earth as witnesses against you that I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life so that you and your children may live. So in the book of Deuteronomy, it says life and death, it says blessings and curses. So if you're speaking life, you're speaking blessings. If you're speaking death, you're speaking curses. I want you guys to remember that because we're going to be focusing upon the spiritual realm and how blessings can come from you speaking life and curses can come from you speaking death. So, question I have for you. Growing up, was life spoken to you or death as you were growing as a child in your home, in the surroundings you ventured in, places like this? Was life being spoken over you or death? Now, what about you? Do you speak life or death over your kids, over your husband, over your wives, over your marriage, your friendships, to your co-workers? Do you speak life or death, or do you speak blessings or curses over those that are around you and those that you care about? Now, remember, when we were kids, I don't know, well, in my day, kids will talk about us and stuff. We come home crying, whining, and mom would say, sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. You remember that. You remember that. But I have to beg to differ because words hurt, words kill. Words can cause blessings over your life or they can cause curses. It depends upon what is being spoken over your life. Now, in my book pertaining to what we're talking about, I wrote this. Now, this is a true story. This is a true story. It says, I recall speaking to a young girl, and she stated, I was washing dishes, and her mother came in the house upset and on edge. As she was in her room after she had washed dishes, and her mother was in her room and heard her singing, the mother yelled, "Stop making all that noise. You can't sing, so stop now." Now, the young girl stopped, and from that point, she never opened her mouth to sing again. Okay. In counseling at the age of 30, this is years after, she talked about it with her counselor. He then asked her to sing. The fear was so bad she cried. As she started to sing, he was amazed at her voice and told her what a strong voice you have and how she needed to sing more. She became an opera singer and overcame what was spoken over her out of anger with no real intentions of hurting her. You see, sometimes people can speak from a place of rage or a place of anger and say things that can penetrate a person's heart, that they never forget it and they begin to respond in a negative way based upon that. Words kill, words bless, words can be spoken, and a what is called a word curse can be put over your life. A word curse can be put upon your life due to the things that have been spoken to you. Now, in the book of Colossians, I think it's chapter 3, verse 21, it says, "Fathers, provoke not your children to anger, lest they be discouraged." Lest they be discouraged. Now, this is basically for fathers, because fathers are the disciplinarian. So when it comes to them disciplining their child, we cannot do it or should not do it in a place of anger or rage. Okay, because we can provoke that child to anger, and from that they can be discouraged. Okay, so let's look at the word provoke. What does provoke mean? Provoke means a stimulant or incite someone to do or feel something, especially being aroused by arousing anger in them. So we could say things to a child. I'm quite sure you said some things, for those that are parents, to your teenagers or those that are 11 or 12, and you know how they think they grown, they know everything. But you say something in a certain way and they get angry. Now, if they respect you, they're not going to mouth off, they're not going to say anything, but you can see the anger on them. Okay. But then you have those that, they may try to mouth off and this, that, and the third. And this is the anger that came from the provoking of what was spoken to them. It's not what you say, it's how you say what you say that makes all the difference. That makes all the difference. I wrote this in my book. I wrote, "We as parents must be mindful of the words that we speak over our children. The enemy will cause us to react to situations that come about. And before we know it, we have said things we can't take back." How many of y'all have said things to people, your significant other, your wife, your husband, your kids, that you wish you never would have said, because some of those things that were said are still affecting them today. And in some cases, you may get into a little spat or whatnot, and they will let you know, "Do you remember when you said this? That really did something to me." Da 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 da. Words can kill. Okay. It says those words can be piercing to the heart of a child and can open doors of anger, professional perfectionism, and pride. The harsh comments that seem innocent to you are tearing your child apart. Or maybe the child was the child was the child's upbringing was the like. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. Let me go back. Child apart, or maybe that child was being told things like, "Move out of my way. I'll do it." Have you ever been told that? You're doing something that you were asked to do, but maybe you weren't doing fast enough. Maybe you weren't doing it the right way. And instead of them correcting you and showing you how to do it, they just say, "Get out the way, I'll do it." Can't you do anything right? You ever been told that? You're going to be just like your father or your mother or your cousin or your nephew, that negative individual in the family. You're going to be just like them. All right. Why can't you be like your brother or sister? You have that brother or that sister or that cousin that is a straight A student. They don't do nothing wrong, and everybody say, "Why don't you just be like them?" Uh-huh. I wish I never had you. Now that is something that is, oh man, that's piercing to a child, being told that, "I wish I never had you." This is a typical scenario in which the negative words spoken over someone's life begin to alter their self-perception and causes them to live in accordance with what was said. With what was said. I recall growing up, and being told you're going to be just like your father, or you're going to be just like your uncle. And I didn't want to be like them. I wanted to be better than them. But do you know what you focus on is what's going to be? What you focus on is what's going to be. So I'm focusing on not being like them, and guess what? Came out just like them. Can anyone? I mean, am I the only one? I mean, you don't want to be, your mind is focused. This is what's on your mind. So if this is on your mind, this is the way it's just, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. So if you choose not to be like an individual, don't focus on them. Don't use them as well. I'm not going to be like them. You get a lot of women and you get a lot of men. You tell a woman, you just like your mother. No, I ain't just like my mama. But they know they are, but they don't want to be. They never wanted to be, because they didn't like the way their mother was. And what happens a lot of times is, if they didn't like the way their mother was, they probably don't like the way they are. So how can you love if you don't have love for yourself? Ooh, that's a tough one there, huh? How can you love if you don't have love for yourself? Because if you hated your mother, or disliked your mother, I don't want to use the word hate, but had a strong disliking for the way that she was, or the way your father was, or whoever it was, and you feel that way, and you're just like them, you probably have that same feeling about yourself, not wanting to admit it to the world, but within yourself, you know. Don't lie to yourself. Don't lie to yourself. Okay. If words have power, get this. If words have power, then your name and it being spoken has power over you as well. Because your name, a name has a meaning. If you go into the Bible, you'll see that everyone that was named, their name had a meaning. And that meaning basically was spoken over that child. How was it spoken? I'm glad you asked. Because whenever you mention that person's name, that meaning was being spoken. Anthony, Anthony, Anthony. What Anthony means, it is spoken over my life. And the same with you. And the same with you. We're living in a time where people are coming up with these names that, but they're not really doing the research to find out if this is the direction, or if this is the life, if this is the behavior of what I want my child to have. Of what I want my child to have. And the comedians and things, they always use names like LaQuisha and all these type of things. But let me ask you this. Have you ever looked up your name and the meaning behind your name? Now, my next question to you is this. From that, are you living out the meaning of your name? That's deep, ain't it? Check it out. If you haven't done it, go do it. I guarantee you'll be amazed at how some of the behaviors are whatever your name symbolizes, you probably walk in, because people are speaking your name over you daily, 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 daily for years. So that thing is coming to life over you. Why? Because you respond to it. You respond to it. I wrote this in my book. Listen up. A person's name has meaning. There was a time when parents would take the time to name their children something unique with a specific meaning, so that as the name was spoken over their life, it would impart power, strength, and hope. Unfortunately, in our society today, many children are given names that have no meaning, or are giving nicknames that water down their God-given identity. A dog, all these AKA names, I guess you can call them, or nicknames you can call them. You know what I'm saying? But what meaning do they have? You see, oh yeah, there's a method to Satan's madness, and we are falling right into it. We're falling right into it. I wrote this pertaining to myself. The name Anthony in Greek means priceless. I'm valuable but I was called many other names as a child that penetrated my heart and my soul. So you're told something enough, you will begin to believe it. I know of people who were called slut, fatty, dumb, and stupid, but the ones by the ones that were supposed to love them. And today they fit right into what was spoken over them. What was spoken over them. As I stated, a person calling you dumb, the first thing you say, I'm not dumb. I'm not dumb. But you focus so much on not being dumb that you become dumb. You see, slut, you know, I ain't no slut, you know. But what ends up happening is you begin to gravitate more and more towards that because this is what's on your mind. As a man thinketh, so he shall be, is what the Bible says. Hmm. My God, my God, my God. So I went deeper. We got this thing called AI. So I put in the AI. What's the meaning of Anthony? Okay, so it said this. It said looking up the meaning name. So in the Hebrew, it's flower, and in Latin, it's praiseworthy. Okay, and in the Greek, as I just stated to you, it means priceless. Okay, so Anthony carries meaningful connotations across different languages in cultures. So people calling me by my name spoke blessings over me so that I'm able to live out what the meaning of Anthony is. Y'all get it? Look up your name, see what it means, and see if you're actually living it out in your own life. In your own life. We're talking about words spoken. We're talking about how words have life and death. That words are speaking blessings and curses over individuals. We're living in a society today where everything's a curse. Every things that are coming out of folks' mouths is just ridiculous. You know, and we're not understanding that we're speaking curses not just over people's life, but even over our life. And we need to really take a look at this and begin to understand that when you speak in love, you're speaking blessings over people and yourself. And you may see doors open that normally wouldn't open for you because of the blessing. Many of us are getting doors shut on us because of the curses that are being spoken over our life. One other area that really affects a child growing up is the environment that they grow up in. The word spoken in the home, it can affect a child more than what we think. Children mimic what they see. So if you're going around the house cursing and yelling at each other and speaking a bunch of negativity, you know, all that negativity that's in the atmosphere is going to rest upon that child. Why? Because Satan wants to attack a child, an infant stage, and allow them to grow up moving in a direction that is not suited for them. So all this negativity going on in the atmosphere is resting right on that child. This is what I wrote this pertaining to that in my book. I wrote foul language and negative words can release curses into the atmosphere. And upon those uh, you're talking about, when you use this type of language around a child, they are more to be exposed to demonic spirits and witchcraft. As the nature of rejection has taken a foothold over the child, these spirits can enter in and cause issues in their life. What type of issues? Glad you asked. Rebellion, an untamed tongue, and a lack of respect for authority. I'm gonna stop right there real quick. Can you see this in the up and coming generation? Rebellion. You say do this, they say no, I'm gonna do that. An untamed tongue and no respect for the elders or authority. And just like I said right here, lack of respect for authorities. Can you see it? Where does this come from? Where does it come from? Hmm. These are things you will see in a child that has come out of this type of environment. I'm not going to say household, I'm going to say environment, because you have households that don't speak negatively, but that child may go into an atmosphere or an environment where it is. So it may not be your home. This is why it's very important uh, to really check out the people that your child is hanging with, the household. A lot of parents, allow their kids to do almost anything. And if you were pretty strict on your kid, and you call that parent and say, "Hey, my child's going to be coming over," whoa, 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 and you get to know that parent, you say, "Oh, well, they're nice," but you don't know that they just let their kid do anything, smoke weed, curse at them, do all kind of stuff. And so this type of environment can affect your child, and your child can come back with some of that stuff on them and begin to disrespect, rebel, and have a lack of respect for you and authority. So you have to be very mindful when it comes to kids. And some of us, we I know for myself, I used to love going places where I could just do what I wanted to do, and everybody thought everything was cool at the house. But as we grow up and we mature and we have kids, we see, hey, that was really a messed up thing there. It was really a messed up thing, because it bred in me something that my parents didn't want in me, that they didn't want in me. All right. All right. Y'all following along with me? We talking about words. We talking about life or death. We talking about blessing our children instead of cursing our children. We talking about speaking life over our children instead of death over our children. Better yet, hey, I'm talking about speaking life over your marriage instead of speaking death. You go and you talk to your girlfriend, or you talk to your homeboy, and you just talking all this craziness about your wife, and you talking all this craziness about your husband. That stuff is going in the atmosphere, and it's alerting demonic spirits to come and bring that what you're talking into your relationship. Bless your relationship despite what you may be going through. If you can't say nothing good about it, don't say nothing about it. You don't need to be putting that stuff out there. It's hard enough to keep a relationship going in the right direction rather than having these demonic spirits come in because of things that you are saying to other people pertaining to your relationship. Pertaining to your relationship. All right. Here's one, y'all, that I think um, many of us go through, but we don't understand the damage that it brings. Verbal abuse. Do you know verbal abuse is more damaging than physical abuse? See, physical abuse, you can hit somebody in the eye and they'll get a black eye and they'll hurt for a while. But in 3 months, that black eye is gone, and your black eye, and you feel okay. But you can say something to somebody that will penetrate them and it will stay with them for the rest of their life. Verbal abuse is more damaging than physical abuse. I wrote this in my book pertaining to verbal abuse. Words and their power can bring fear so overpowering that a child may lose control of their bladder and use the bathroom on themselves. Words have a way of haunting you. I had to release words from within my soul that were oppressing me. Here's one that just really got me. Crackhead. I was addicted to crack cocaine for a long period of time. And that word crackhead, it irked the mess out of me. That was one that took some time for me to overcome. Why? Because so many people were saying this to me, I started to believe it myself. And the more I wanted to quit smoking crack, the stronger the craving became. I didn't understand why the urge was increasing. I now realize that it was because of the word curses that were being spoken over me. See, it wasn't just the drug I was fighting. There was a spiritual fight going on. These demonic spirits that were being called in by calling me a crackhead, I'm fighting them too to get away. And every time I try to get away, they want to churn the screws to keep me there. Words have power, people. They have power. Hmm. I wasn't going to read this part here, but I want to read this. I think that it will strike a chord with some people. I've heard mothers speak over their children things like, "They're so bad," or "My child doesn't listen." They are putting word curses on their children, and as they grow up, they'll become exactly what was predicted. We as parents need to speak love to our children. We need to speak love over our children and not hate. It's also important not to allow people to speak any old way in your home or around your child. They can deposit something into your home that can cause major mental, physical, and spiritual issues along the way. This is one of the reasons why, you know, I don't allow, I don't allow too many people into my house, because a lot of people are carrying a lot of things that I don't want to be left in my house. Okay. Have you ever invited someone into your house and they came, and after they left, it's like your house was just in array? I mean, everything that everybody's arguing with everybody, nobody understands why. Well, maybe now you understand why, because something was left that wasn't there before they came, and it caused havoc in the atmosphere of your house. It caused havoc in the atmosphere of your house. So we talked a lot about word curses and life and death, and in the power of the tongue and this type of thing. But what do we do when our children are acting up? They acting crazy. They ain't doing what we told them to do. This, that, and the third. We angry. And that's another thing. If you're angry at your child, don't say a word. Tell the child to go upstairs and go in your room, do something, exhale, take a couple minutes, get yourself together, so that when you speak, you're not reacting, you're responding to what has taken place. We as black folks, we say, yeah, well, the dude he just had a gram of weed, and you gonna give him 25 years for a gram of weed. You know what I'm saying? But see, we do that same thing with our kids. They do something minute, and we just lay into them because we're reacting, and it affects them. So what we need to do is we need to allow the what to say whatever it is that they did, make sure that the discipline, or what you do, or how you do, is the same is the same. Okay. So disciplining our child, we must do that. God said, bring up a child in the way that they should go, and they shall not depart from it. He also said this. He said, if you spare the rod, you're going to spoil the child. So that tells me that pulling out that rod, pulling out that belt, that's the way to go. It's in the word. Okay. The powers that be want to try to tell us, no, you can't spank your child. The devil is a lie. I'll tell you, my kids, they know. Yeah, they know. So, uh, uh-huh, uh-huh. So I want to read this real quick. This is what I did. Okay. And I added into the book. I said, in some cases for children, there's the old fashioned belt to the bottom. Okay. I believe in it because the Lord said it. Do what you have to do. You don't have to use foul language. You see, we get to talking to our kids like they a grown person when we're angry. Okay. But we should not be doing those type of things. Okay. You do not have to use foul language. Just get it over with. Give them that spanking. Give them that spanking. Now don't go crazy. Like I said, take some time away. Come on back. Do what needs to be done. Okay. and then leave them alone in their room to heal and to think about why what just happened. Now, then come back and ask them, do you understand why you received that spanking? Then explain to them that their choices have consequences. And this was a consequence to your choice. Now, what this does is it shows respect and it teaches them how to make right decisions. See, what we're doing, if we're just going hog ham on a child out of anger because they done did something that we don't want them to do or told them not to do, but we're not teaching them that your choices have consequences. It don't matter if it's a good choice or a bad choice. There's a good consequence and a bad consequence. And it just so happens that this consequence is a bad one based upon your bad choice. But we also want to praise them for making good choices because the good choice brings a good consequence so that they can see the difference. So as they grow up, they're not just going to jump and do, they're going to look at it and say, okay, so if I do this, this might be the consequence. This may be what takes place. Or if I do this, they can weigh the odds. Right now, kids just do whatever they want to do, whatever makes them feel good. Because in some cases, there's no consequence. So they don't know, but we as parents must teach them. And see, a lot of us grew up with no consequences. So how can you teach a child to have consequences to actions when you didn't have consequences to actions? That's why you need to get the book. The book will teach you a lot of things about yourself and the abandonment and rejection that you're feeling. And it will help you to not allow that generational curse to go on into the next generation. Like I tell you, after every chapter, we got questions, we got review questions. So go get the book, go to Amazon, type in my name, Anthony Baxter. You can put in Uprooting Rejection. You'll see the book with the roots coming out with all kind of things on them: abuse, trauma, pride, assault, low self-esteem, rebellion, bitterness, outcast, all these things that draw rejection. Go ahead and order your book. But question for chapter number 6. Number 1, the harmful influence of negative words can have a lifelong effect until we blank. Now, the answers are in the book. I done went over some of them. So, number 2, verbal abuse can cause just as much emotional damage to a child as hitting them or violating them. True or false? And number 3, choose words that will blank your child and make them feel blank and blank. All right. You got to read it to get it. You got to read it to get it. All right. Uh, Number 4, why is it important for parents to seek professional or to seek professional or be professional in dealing with a child suffering from the effects of deep rooted rejection or abandonment? It's in the book. Number 5, when a child consistently hears negative words being spoken over them, they will eventually begin to believe them, true or false. It's our responsibility to blank and blank up our children in the way that they should go so that they will not depart from it. Now, if y'all know the word, you know that one. All right. Number 7, when children are given names with no meaning, it can blank. All right. These are the 7 questions for chapter 6. Next week, we're going to be going over part 7, chapter 7, called Fear of Rejection. Fear of rejection. You know, people do things because they don't want to be rejected. They don't want to do them. It goes against their morals, but they just do them because they don't want to be rejected. They want to fit in. They want to be liked by people. All these type of things. So join us next week as we go over fear of rejection, and we can see how we can uproot that out of the lives of those dealing with it. Until then, God bless you, and we'll see you next week.